Do you prefer Pause or Azrasha?
Probably Azasha.
Okay, cool. Azrasha, congratulations again. I hope you get a
Thank you very
lot of
much.
value out of this coaching session. So, got your
Yeah.
VOD here.
hmm
What happened with the recording, man? It's like floating.
Oh, I used to I used to play video games on a really, let's just say lower end
Uh-huh.
device, laptop, mom's laptop, right?
Uh-huh.
And basically, like the only way I could record anything was just to have it, you know, slightly scuffed. And I guess
Got
I'm
it.
a bit used to it now.
Oh, it's like your
Something
thing?
like that.
I see.
Something like that.
Dude, you got to hit rank
I mean,
one
as you
with your
can see,
screen like this.
I play on 1280, 720, so
I see. Well,
throwback to the.
I was like surprised. I was like, wait, you trying to block everything out or something? Or, but it's all good,
Oh,
man.
nah, nah.
It's all good, man.
Yep.
All right. So overall, I thought you played pretty well. First of all, I want to commend
Thank you
you
very
on
much.
your scouting and Zephyr usage was really good this game. Um,
Thank you. I think because when I see people do coaching sessions, like
mhm.
with VODs, a lot of people just pick like a top one game. And I think this game, I like this one because it shows like my, let's see, peaks and valleys as a player.
Yeah.
If you saw that last fight, it was probably one of the biggest chokes I've ever done in my life. Sorry, that was a bit of a spoiler. Sorry, guys.
Oh no, it's
Um,
fine. It's fine.
but the shrouds, I think I hit. There's a good like part of was stage sometime between stage two stage three. I hit every shroud. I hit every shroud.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you had some really good Zephyrs and Shrouds in general, and then
Yeah.
countering with countering enemy Zephyrs and Shrouds with good positioning. So yeah, let's go through the replay. If you have
Sure.
questions as we go on, just pause. Just stop me.
Yep.
Can you see my
All good.
screen?
I not yet.
Okay, let me share screen right here. Oh, of course you can't see my screen. All right, let's see. Can you see it now?
Yep. Oh God, Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay, man. Uh, yeah, it's okay.
Is
It's
there any
totally
way
fine.
to zoom it in so that chat doesn't have to suffer?
I don't know. Let me see.
Like just with the. I
No,
mean,
it
I have
doesn't do it.
about. Oh God.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Control plus maybe.
Zoom
No.
to fill? Oh no, it didn't do it.
No. That was
Control
horrible.
plus? No, it doesn't do it. Don't worry about it. Honestly, people
I
can see what's going
apologize.
on. It's fine. It's fine.
Sure.
They can use your imaginations to fill in whatever they don't see. So,
Yeah.
all right. Let's start. So first of all,
Yeah.
this is a question, not a critique. Why did you go for belt?
Um, well, let's see. I think. Oh wow, it's a belt on the graves. Hmm. I like to on Galactic Armory. I played Battlecast for a bit.
Hmm.
One trick Battlecast for a bit. It didn't go so well, but I found that on Galactic Armory, early red buff is higher chance of getting early red buff relatively.
Got it.
So I like the idea of early game red buff. I'm still a what's it called. I still believe red buff Lucian is the best start in the game. So
Hmm.
just a little bit greedy of me. I was playing a lot of Jinx before this, and this game I decided like I gotta learn mech sometime,
Hmm.
right? So I
Hmm.
may as well do it now.
Got it.
In this game, yes. But my idea going into it was, oh, I see red buff component. Oh, I want to play Jinx.
Got it. Okay, so generally speaking, if you like to play Jinx, and actually if you like to play Battlecast Brawler, this is arguably the case as well. I would say the
Yep.
best start is Chain Vest. Re-
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, okay, so you get why because you can build. Well, Jinx Comp wants two, right? Red buff and GA,
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
then Battlecast wants ideally three: Bramble Vest and
yeah.
Red buff. But it sounds like you know that, so cool. Let's. I was
Yep.
just curious.
Exactly. On that this particular case, I think the vest was on the other side. I just saw the belt and I said,
Got
yeah,
it. Okay.
I didn't see a vest anywhere.
Makes sense. Yeah, belt's not bad. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we start off with the belt. It's Galactic Armory. It looks like you were immediately thinking mech, which is good. I think
Yeah.
anytime you see two tiers, that either means mech or
Astro,
Astro Sniper or Sork.
Syndra.
Yeah, so it's good.
Snake don't work no more because yeah, bit of an interesting. Yeah, I don't think Snake wants to play into Vex.
Yeah, it's really rough playing Snake
Yeah.
into any AOE right now, and like both
But that also means
Mika.
that Cyber gets to run rampant because there's no snakes, right? So bit of a knock-on effect.
Yeah,
Because Cyber can't function with when Snake is doing well.
I think Cybers definitely has trouble with Snake when Snake is running 6 Vanguard. Not so much when it's running 4 Vanguard, but Cybers still struggles versus Mech
That's true.
and fully
I
stacking
also see
Eco.
these days there's a lot of people who are prioritizing Giant Slayer, like not over Last Whisper, but almost as much. Like no longer inting for Last Whisper IE. So yeah, Veins definitely are starting to get a lot more stuck. But I guess that's because of mech meta anyway. Because everyone, if you don't have Giant Slayer, it's like, we're gonna die to everyone we can't touch, and we're all stuck on the mech right now. As you
Yeah,
can see, I'm still hovering. Like I'm like, wait, is that Red Buff Shiv?
yeah, I can see the will to play Jinx is strong, but just
Yes.
obviously spoiler, but I'm glad you resisted the
No,
urge, and you made
absolutely.
mech
Two
items.
tiers is insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and then I see Morel and Lamacon, and I just think, oh,
yeah.
just give me the.
So here's a first thing I think you could have done better here. So I actually think making Shroud early is actually not great. I don't think Shroud is actually one of the best items for mech anymore. A, because it got nerfed, so it's much less oppressive versus pretty much anything that's not a sorcerer comp, and there's usually no more than like one Sorc player per game. And B, because it consumes both a chain and a glove. Now, the best items for mech currently are Hand of Justice, and I'll talk about why in a second. Hand of Justice, Titan's Resolve, and QSS. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the 3 best items. Reason why is because Hand of Justice, the change to get 50% Omnivamp, meaning 50% of the time you're going to steal from both auto attacking and from ults, is really, really impactful. Because the mech hits multiple units, right? So they're healing off of hitting multiple units with their autos. And they also heal when they ult. And also, if you get the 50% damage version of Hand of Justice, it's just a ton of damage for an already high damage ult. So that's why Hand of Justice is now super good. It's actually one of the best in slot on mech. So ideally you want glove for that. Titan's Resolve is really, really good on mech as well, and it actually synergizes with Hand of Justice, right? Because the way Titan's Resolve works is it gives you more damage, right? Which multiplies off of Hand of Justice, right? So you're getting that 2% extra damage, or is it 2.5%, every time your mech takes an instance of damage. So Hand of Justice and Titan's Resolve work super well. And then QSS, I think everyone knows QSS is just a must-have on mech, so you don't get CC'd. And if you have QSS, Hand of Justice, and Titan's Resolve, you have a good mix of defensive capability from the Titan's Resolve, and from the healing from Hand of Justice. A ton of damage. It's like a really, really significant from Hand of Justice, and the immunity to CC. So I would actually say making a Shroud consumes 2 of your components in a way that I think hurts you a lot later in the game. Because I think if you had, instead of these items, you had Titan's Resolve and Hand of Justice, your mech would have been way stronger. Does that all make sense?
Yep. Of course, of course. I agree with
Cool.
everything you said. As you can see, I actually had a Titan's Resolve sitting right there, right? The bow's right there. But I think, first of all, I tend to instinctively slam Shroud because I have a lot of faith in my own positioning. So that's why sometimes I just go Shroud. But yeah, I do think that I had what's it called, Titans is better.
Yeah.
If I played, this is my first game, I think probably ever in a ranked game playing mech. So I did not see it, but with hindsight, absolutely.
Oh
That was
yeah,
my
sure,
first
man.
response.
And look, this is identifying areas that can help you improve your game.
Of
And
course.
this is pretty impressive considering it's your first game playing mech as well. But yeah, overall, I think Titan's Resolve is actually, it's not amazing early, but it's decent early. The thing with Shroud, especially with the way you played it. So if we back up a little bit here, right? If you're gonna make Shroud, that's fine. If you really like the item, I don't think it's great early, but if you feel real comfortable, that's fine. But making the Shroud before you see where the opponent is positioned is not ideal, right? Because here, right, I think you end up winning this fight anyway, but your Shroud doesn't really hit anyone useful. You could have just waited,
Yeah.
sort of like you play Zephyr, after the round starts. you could have played Shroud and maybe hit like the Nocturne. So you didn't get punished too hard here. I think you win this round, or do
No, I
you?
lost. I lost.
You lose this round.
Yeah.
Shroud arguably helps you versus if you get it on the Nocturne instead. But in general, just as a good habit, try to make Shroud on a bench unit and then place it at the start of the fight.
Oh no, absolutely.
Cool.
The instant slam was definitely a mistake.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
okay. It's not a big deal. Okay. Let's see. Okay, another thing here. So you have a Ziggs and a Malphite, right? And you also
yeah,
have a
stuff.
TF and Caitlyn on bench. So if you have TF and Caitlyn on the field, A, you're getting Chrono, which is better than not
Oh
getting
no.
any synergy, right? And B, TF actually uses these items as well or better than Ziggs. Ziggs is arguably a better blue buff user, but TF is definitely a better Morello's user.
Better Morello.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you had played these, that definitely would have been a stronger board.
Yep.
So generally speaking, it looks like you know TF and Kate are strong, which is why you're holding them. But I just want to know
Yep.
it's better here. So generally speaking, if you're gonna build Morellos early, which I don't love, but if you know you're going mech, it's fine. You should go for TF to have it, and then
TF. Yep.
everything else flows from that.
Yep.
Another thing with
In this particular case, I don't. I think Well, here, like accidentally, I'm playing a slightly weaker board to lose streak, but I was definitely not consciously thinking about it. I definitely think that TF and K are better here, but I think probably I think this mistake was because just again I'm not too confident with mech, and I think I was tunneling a little bit hard on the Rebel start because obviously Ziggs, Rumble, and Friends tends to be a really strong start. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and we're all learning here, so don't worry about you don't have to
Yeah.
explain why. I totally get it. I make a billion mistakes on stream every game, so I get it, man.
Also, if there was an infiltrator on my Malphite, Leona would be chilling, right? Yeah,
So
so that's a mistake from me.
let me show you something a little bit with positioning. So let's say we had the TF and what was it, a Poppy and Leona, right?
Yep.
This Poppy, where's Leona? Where's Leona? Leona, right? So you kind of corrected for this round. Actually, to make it easier, let's just play the Ziggs and the Malphite since that's what you actually had. So your positioning is like this, right?
I can't see the. I'm still in low chest.
You're not seeing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Here, let me see. How do I share everything?
I think there's a share screen option that's I believe it's just share
There we go. Got it. Yep.
share everything.
Okay. You see
Screen.
it? You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you had them like this. The problem with this positioning is if there's a Nocturne like right here, for example.
33%.
Yeah, he might go for the Ziggs anyway. If you're concerned about infiltrators, like I see a lot of people doing this. I think this is slightly out of date, considering like how many people are playing infiltrators. A safer positioning is actually something like this. And you might want to put the Poppy in front because she's tankier than the Malphite when she has Vanguard, right? This will pretty much guarantee your Ziggs, A, can't get pulled by Blitz, right? Because Blitz would pull this. And B, won't get focused by infiltrators, right?
Absolutely.
A little bit later in stage 2, once Rumbles start popping up and stuff, you might want to switch.
Rumble, Jace, and Nautilus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calamar. Yeah,
But
I have a nightmare of getting stomped when I put someone in Calamari by a Nautilus, so I got a little bit of fear of playing Calamari, but definitely I think you're right.
Yeah.
In this case.
But keep in mind, right? Even if some like Nautilus, Jace, Rumble, those units are all less common during stage 2 than infiltrators. So again, this is not like wrong positioning, right? But if you're trying to defend against infiltrators, it won't defend against infiltrators confidently or consistently. So that's just something to keep in mind. Sometimes you want to do this, but I think a lot of time you actually want to do something like this. And if you're really concerned about infiltrators, if you're concerned about frontline, you can always back him up 1 hex and put this closer. But this leaves him more susceptible to infiltrators.
Definitely more susceptible.
Yeah, but if you're level 5, for example, you might just put someone right here, right, and do this, which is also safer. So those are just some notes on early game positioning. I don't think you get punished too hard, but I just want you to be aware of those things.
Yep, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so we can skip through the fights. So you lost here. That's fine. You're loose streaking now. see. I think generally what you bought in shop after this point is fine. What I don't like though is the selling the Poppy and Leona. I actually think that's a pretty big downgrade in board strength. Now, did you
Yep.
do that to lost streak? Is that the reason why I
Yes,
did
I
it?
wanted the well, the two brawlers, one because Rebel,
Uh huh.
and then two I also wanted to. I obviously in this stage, yeah, brawlers are yeah, two brawlers is gonna be weaker than two Vanguard. I did
Okay.
want to try to, yeah, I had a Poppy too.
Hmm.
I wasn't looking for HP. I was looking for, I mean, as you can see, I'm desperately gonna be looking for mech items
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So if
just
you're
to really like stomp it in, and also, if people are scouting and they see that, chances are they might be slightly more dissuaded to something slam like this.
okay. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. If you're trying to lost streak, it's fine. Because naturally
Mhm.
now that I see you're trying to make 10 gold, so okay.
Yeah.
And I think you make 10 gold here.
Yes. Also, yeah, that would be a third reason. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Cool.
Oh, yeah, winning that round made me quite sad, I
Yeah.
must admit.
But you hit
And
Rumble,
yeah, I
which is
saw a
awesome.
rumble. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just,
And now you make the
hmm,
Titans, which is great.
yes, my friend. I like just the dodge, and obviously I should have slammed later. Should have waited on the slam.
Yeah. And that's just a habit to build. You'll
Yep.
definitely build it eventually. Um. So why did you choose to level here?
I thought that with blue buff Morello on Ziggs as well as just a rumble hit,
Hmm.
um, I think that this is a board strong enough to win streak.
Got it.
Obviously, I'm not scouting
Hmm.
like proper like well.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
haha,
just
good stuff.
going off experience, yeah, it feels
Mhm.
like a strong board. Cool. So yeah, definitely agree. It's a strong board when you have Ziggs with these items and Rumble. If that's what you want to do though,
Look at the Smurf. Look at that rumble.
you should try to position accordingly. So with Rumble,
Yep.
you pretty much always want to have Rumble on the front line.
Hmm.
Because you want him to get his ult off as fast as possible because his ult is super high
That's true.
impact, right?
That's true.
And B, he's taking damage as he's walking up to range units, right? So it means he's less likely to get two ults. So I think instead
Yep.
of the positioning you had here, if we want to pull up the lull chest again, you can do something like, let's find that Rumble. We'll find that Malphite. Zalawi. And who was the last unit? Was it a Zed?
This is that. Yep.
Zed?
For rebel.
Cool.
Yep.
So you can do something like this, right? Where Alawi is
Hmm.
here to secure versus Blitz hooks, right?
And evil.
Um, sorry?
And evil traders.
Oh, yeah, and infos, exactly. You're off to a side, so Zed is jumping onto a unit on the side here. And then
Hmm.
Rumble is in a position to immediately ult the front line. And sometimes he'll hit carries depending on how everyone's positioned on the front line. So
That's true.
this is a really good standard position. Like this is almost never bad,
Yep.
considering the units you have. So generally, when you have Rumble, the most important thing to keep in mind is just go front, go front, and
Yep.
then on the other side, just as long as you're keeping Ziggs on the inside,
Hmm.
you can just do this.
Yep, I very much agree with what you have here. So the train of thought for the corner comp there was that I believe that the only way I could have lost a round using this board would probably be due to infiltrators, but I have completely erased that idea of calamari out of my head. But yes, that's definitely a good idea to consider.
Hmm.
Also, yes, as you can see, I'm very good at TFT. Um,
No, this is a fine game, man.
no,
Oh,
no, no, I'm talking about the fizz hit.
yeah, no, oh yeah, just hit. I mean, that's skill, right? Just
Yeah,
hit. So yeah,
God, I'm so good.
you hit. That's pretty exciting. And then it's pretty straightforward, right? From this point, like we don't need to watch every
Absolutely.
single round of you stomping the lobby with a mech.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I just want to note the biggest thing to take away from this stage, besides like the positioning and stuff,
Yep,
is the difference that itemization makes, right?
yep,
Because
absolutely.
you
Yep.
actually take a round where obviously this is hindsight, right? But you
Yep.
could have made a QSS before the round where you got Zephyred. I think it was maybe which round did you get Zephyred? I'm gonna skip a few
Yeah, the
steps.
center. Yeah, like Aurelio Zephyr. I remember.
Yeah. And that Zephyr actually I think ends up breaking your streak as well.
Oh, watch the
Um,
shroud. Watch the shroud. Oh my god. Wait, this is the one. This is the one I missed.
it's okay. That just happens. Um,
Yep.
So yeah, I think just keep in mind like the shroud. I'm not saying never make it, but in my personal
Yep.
opinion, it's not really gonna drastically impact these early game fights because half of like let's say assume your position is really clean, which is one of your strengths as a player, right? You're still gonna miss
Yep.
like 30 to 40% of the time, right? When there's 7 people in the
Mhm.
lobby, it's just really hard to consistently shroud. So
Yep.
I just don't think it's going to be help. It completely doesn't help you in certain fights. It moderately helps you in some fights because it's still a lot of auto attacks early game, and it majorly helps
Mhm.
you in maybe 10 to 20% of fights. Whereas I think Hand of Justice Slam helps you 100% of the time. It's a really really OP item,
Absolutely.
especially
Yep.
on Rumble. It's good on Rumble even before you get the mech.
The
Okay.
only slight disagreement I have is that I usually with Shroud, just because of the poison effect, what ends up happening is that certain units with really high, um, uh, shall I say, cast thresholds. Like for example, my favorite example would be Kate. Sometimes just will not ult in a fight, and especially in some early game fights. For example, an Caitlyn ult might be the critical hit. For to secure like a K2 ult might be a critical hit to secure a win, or an early Jace not being able to pop up because of Shroud. But I think you're right in the sense that yes, I think Hodge is objectively better, but
Yeah,
me see Shroud, me slam, me hit every Shroud.
yeah,
Watch
and
me hit this Ashe player.
I'm not saying I disagree with you that sometimes it's really high impact.
No,
Um,
what's the
Is
three
it,
play again?
we're going through the nightmare again. What I'm more saying is that sometimes it has no impact, right? So I'm saying
Yep, that's true.
relative to other items, it's just not as
You're right.
on average as
Absolutely.
powerful. That's all. So another thing, so okay, you didn't hit Shroud. That's okay. It just happens. Like sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. I think the bigger thing though is at this round, right? At 3-5, and
Yep.
this is just a leveling timing. You should keep in mind. You're win streaking really hard here, right?
Yep.
It would only cost you 20 golds, aka 2 interest, to go 7, get a stronger board in place, like you could play a TF, for example, right?
Yep.
And get Sork, which is actually really impactful too. And
Hmm.
you protect your streak because you're making 3 gold every round, right?
Yep.
In fact, many people will go 7 here, even if they're not win streaking, just to preserve HP because you still end up making a lot of interest going 3-5, 3-6, and neutrals. So I think here you absolutely want to go 7
Hmm.
ASAP. And then there's more
Yep.
minor stuff like you should just put the tier on the Ziggs. But the
Hmm.
by far the more important thing here is go 7. Go 7 when you're win streaking to protect your streak because sometimes it'll make a big difference.
Yep. I believe I came to this realization that like immediately after this round, and suddenly I go, oh shit, I think I just instantly level the moment I pop into the next round. Hopefully. That's what I remember. I remember thinking like, wait, why the hell did I not level?
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty sure I level, right? Please.
You don't.
It's objectively good to please.
It's okay.
Please
And
level.
obviously, it's easier to recognize the stuff now that you're watching, right, rather than
Yeah.
playing. So yeah, that's just something where I think this. I'm not sure if this is around where you get Zephyred. It might make no difference. Yeah, it might make no
Yep.
difference. But a lot of time, it does make a significant difference.
Hmm.
So you
Yep.
definitely want to look to do that. Sometimes you're not going to be streaking this hard though, right? And it's a
Exactly.
borderline whether you want to go 7. When you're
Hmm.
not streaking that hard and it's borderline, you should just look at the people who are streaking or the people highest
Yeah.
health and see how strong
Absolutely.
they are, and then decide, okay, does leveling get me anything? But I think when you're win streaking like this, like 99 times out of 100, just go 7, because you
Yeah.
lose
No,
very little
absolutely.
for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that was a mistake.
yeah, that's okay. And that fight was just a QSS diff. So going back to having Shroud,
That's true. That's true.
consuming the glove and the chain, that's a QSS
Mhm.
diff.
Mhm.
But
The one note I'll make is
mhm,
that I actually did keep I didn't the reason I didn't tier the Ziggs is
mhm.
because I was waiting for a Hodge because yes, Hodge is absolutely I hit, but
Hmm.
yeah, I was trying to think, yeah, but I might get a Hodge, for example.
Hmm.
Or else, I was probably just waiting I wanted a little bit more direction for my items. I just wanted to wait after Wolves.
Hmm.
And well, I mean, that's Hodge and that's Zephyr, so
Hmm.
not too much to think about.
Yeah, but think of it this way, right? Okay, so you're saying you're waiting for a Hodge, right?
Yep.
Meaning you're waiting for a glove, right?
Yep.
If you're waiting for a
That's true.
glove, you're waiting for QSS
All I'm
actually.
waiting for.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's also true.
the QSS is higher priority. So even unless you get
Mhm.
2 gloves, which is like pretty unlikely,
Yeah, I know.
99 times if you get a glove, you're gonna make a Zephyr. So you might as well put the tier.
Mhm,
It's really minor, but
mhm.
these are like small things. You know those frustrating fights where like the enemy has like a 10 HP, Caitlyn who just got her ult off. It makes a difference in
Yeah,
those
yeah,
fights. It's minor, yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah. Uh,
Um, Also, again, my personal bias that I positioning. So, for example, I don't mind not QSSing the mech doing the dodges. Like I don't mind doing, you know, like dodging Zephyrs with mech. Although obviously, against Teemo, against Ashe, you can't really dodge those. But yeah, I enjoyed the Zephyr over the QSS because I think I'll just outposition them. And well, at least so far, I tend to do pretty decently with positioning. But I would agree with you in the sense that yeah, QSS would have probably been pretty good. Although I should probably scout the lobby if to check if Ashe. I believe there weren't the CC wasn't too bad in this lobby, which is why I didn't QSS, but I can't quite remember. But I would have made a decision.
I think you do QSS eventually. I, I
Mhm.
I just think QSS is just it's 100% of the time you want to make it on mech. It's good that you're good at out positioning people. That's something you want to rely on. A skill you want
And
to.
you can't outposition Teemo. You can't
Yeah,
outposition. Yeah, and I
yeah,
come to this realization yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
I
good.
see Ash and Teemo, and I was like, I can't really outplay that.
Yeah,
But
but
at
but
least I'll shroud him.
think of it this way, right? TFT is a game of you have to a lot to think about and not that much time to think about it. QSS making QSS is something where it's like you don't even have to think about the CC. Like you don't have to think about, oh, is there a Teemo or something like that. Inevitably, like there's just gonna be times where someone throws in a last minute Zephyr or they Zephyr cheese you or
Yep.
a random Wukong ult disrupts your mech. Like it's tons of CC that all can hurt the mech that you can't really outposition. So QSS is just an instant slam every single time if you're playing mech. So overall, this stage four, I thought you played pretty well. You have lots of gold, which is good. You should look for a roll down at 4-3. I think you don't. It might have been because you
No.
were losing. You were lost streaking.
Yep.
But even so, I think you're losing. You're trading at this point of the game. You start taking significant hits.
Yep.
Even if you're lose streaking, I don't think the lose streak gold at this point in the game is worth not leveling for it if you can, right? Because I think if you level, particularly if you're contested, and in this game you weren't contested,
Yep.
but if you level, you actually end up saving a lot of HP. And you'll also have access to the 5 costs that other people are looking for that might be contested at the same time, rather than going into the pool after everyone else has rolled. So, for example, you're looking for Acel, right? Acel's a really contested unit. Victor,
Mhm.
somewhat contested unit. You want to be rolling at 4-3. Like, TFT is sort of a game where even if normally you wouldn't want to do something, you have to do it because other people are doing it, right?
Yeah, lobby. Yeah, you have to follow lobby string, of course.
Exactly. Um,
Mhm.
so I
In this
think you should have
particular
rolled
game,
down at
because
4-3.
yeah, in this particular game, because of the fact that I didn't see anyone contest, because I kind of, you know, slammed pretty early. I didn't see anyone contesting or Victor, so I thought that waiting for the 4-3 roll down and the post carousel roll down meant that I can comfortably hit my Victor too. I
Mhm.
believe that's what ended up. Hopefully, that's what ended up happening. But
Got
that
it.
was my idea going into it.
Got it.
But I believe if I was a bit weaker, I would have said, you know what, I need a Victor right now. I need a Rumble too, right about now.
Hmm.
Probably get a Mystic in. Yes, I agree.
Hmm.
Well, actually, no. Yeah, if I put, yeah, I wouldn't be able to put Mystic in because Victor replaces and then Ziggs goes in.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
little note, I didn't buy the Ziggs too, so that I saved what's it called, a Ziggs.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good.
I've been screwed. I've been screwed so badly, my friend.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's good
No,
that you had
no
the.
demo. No demo.
Yeah, it's good that you had the presence
Also,
of
all
mind
my
too.
yeah.
So yeah, here. Okay, so another thing I want to note here, you kind
Yeah.
of it felt like you were a little attached to Rebels. Like you had them up to this point, which is arguably maybe they overstayed their welcome because I don't think Malphite's really doing much for you because you already have
Yeah.
mech. That's all the tank you need.
Mhm.
But definitely at this point, like you want to get Mystics in. You don't really need
Yeah.
the Malphite at all.
Mhm.
And it doesn't help that much in this particular fight because this guy's mostly true and physical damage. But in general,
Yeah.
Mystic's going to be way better than Rebels here. So that's something, just something to keep in mind. Like, make sure you're actively thinking about, okay, how long does this unit belong to my comp? When do I want to get rid of them? Um,
Right.
and I think you should have looked to drop those. Additionally, Zed. So if we rewind a little bit,
Yep.
okay, so you're lose streaking here, right? You have a 5 loss
Mhm.
streak.
Mhm.
It's debatable whether you should have rolled at 4-3 or you want to lose streak and maybe play even more
Yeah,
greedily
I
for
should have.
first.
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
no,
I
but
should have lost.
regardless, like there are players who are better than me who will say, okay, I'm gonna lose streak and make more gold. That's totally justifiable. I view it
Yep.
a little differently, but that's fine. What I don't think is correct here, though, is lose streaking and then rolling at 4-6,
Yeah, absolutely. That's no, that's what
right?
I meant. That's a mistake from me.
Yeah, because here you have good health, right?
Yeah,
You're
just tank a 10 HP hit and get gold.
exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly. You might as well take the extra hit.
Mhm.
And then in terms of units on the board, so I would have preferred to see you play Mystic over the Malphite. And
Yeah, I
also,
think the moment I hit Soraka 2, there's no way to justify Malphite 2. Like, as in, I thought at least the Malphite 2 would be better than Soraka 1, but yeah, there's no way Malphite 2 should be an over. But in this case, I think it's still, I think Soraka 2 is probably still better than Aesol. But
yeah,
yes, me,
I
filthy Jinx player, me.
you just
Oh,
have so
well,
attached to those rebels. I get it, man.
yeah.
Yeah. And also another thing that I think you need to be more mindful of is Shaco. So Shaco is
Yep.
actually definitely the infiltrator that you want to have in pretty much all game. I mean, until you hit unless you hit like an Echo 2 at 8, you're playing Shaco at 8 every single time. And if you hit Echo 2, it's probably going to be at 9, and then you can just run 4 infil at 9 if you really want to. And I like the little commentaries in your game, by the way, in the
Yeah.
chat box.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
when you roll down there, and again, you said this is your first time playing mech in a ranked game, totally get it. But you want to make sure you're looking for Shaco on the roll down because Shaco is super strong, even without items. He can still occasionally kill off an enemy carry and win you the fight. But with even one item, he becomes really strong because usually what will happen
Mm.
is you run Karma and Soraka for Mystic. Karma
Yep.
Shaco gives you Dark Star,
Dark Star. Yep.
right? And then
And
Shaco
then the
with just
secondary carry threat.
and
I
the
agree.
secondary what? Sorry.
Secondary carry threat if you had early itemization for Shaco.
Exactly.
Um, I think in yes, I think in again with hindsight, I think in most games I would play Shaco. Because of the fact that I had a rebel start, I think again, like you said, I got a little bit too attached to Z2. Well, I thought the Z was all right, and of course when I hit Aesol, I prefer to give Aesol the rebel buff. I see a Hodge. I think that he's probably strong enough, and at this point, again, no Shaco itemization. If it was a naked Shaco too, still does work, but at this point in the game, I'd rather have a Hodge Aesol start walking around and doing work. I think he starts to do work. I hope I hit the Shroud.
Yeah, so it's less about you hit
Oh my
ASOL
god.
and it's ASOL versus Shaco. It's more that
Mhm.
in the roll down you weren't even buying Shaco, and
Yep.
there are several Shacos
Yep.
before the ASOL appeared. So it's just as a standard thing. Make sure you're buying the Shacos on the roll down, and if it looks like hey actually I'm hitting ASOL and you want to play ASOL instead, right? Then it's like okay then it makes sense for you to just end up maybe not playing the Shaco, especially with no items, and play the Rebel buff. But another small thing here, this is something that may be debatable, but I think maybe a Ludens or a Hand of Justice on Aesol, especially if you're going to invest as much as you are in him, would have been better than a Hand of Justice Victor. Because Hand of Justice Victor, 50% of the time, it's amazing. Like 50% damage buff will just one shot.
Right.
But the other,
50% thumbs up.
yeah, it doesn't really do anything. Like he doesn't really benefit from healing that much
Yep.
because usually he's not going to survive that long anyway.
If you look in that fight, I panic slammed the tier on the Victor because I saw I was gonna lose it, which is why I believed I ended up saying fuck it. But I agree because of the fact that I have a Nico. ASO 2 is gonna be quite likely for me. Obviously, I'm aiming for going 9 as well. So I think yes, absolutely, the ASO 2 should give priority. In fact, honestly, if I hodged the ASO, I might have looked to remake the Victor just to morale Namacon the ASOL. Because I'm pretty sure at that point in time the ASOL may be better. I don't know how I lost that one. Bad player, I guess.
Here, let's see.
Um,
Let's see this one.
let's see what happened.
Oh, okay. Actually, this is a big note. Okay, so I can start to tell you part of why this fight didn't go as well as you would like. Okay, so
Yep.
here let's pull up the lol chess, right?
Oh,
Um,
wait, wait, was the, let me think. No, nearest enemy, farthest. I think the Victor line was bad. Opposite side.
so where's
That's one thing
Annie?
I saw right there. I think that's what happened. I think my ASOL drew a line through like a Fiora and a Vi, and I screamed.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, and with Victor, there's not really much you can do to change how he ults. So here, actually,
But if you
sure.
have Victor opposite side enemy carry, it's more likely for him to draw on top of the carry. Yes.
No, what he does is he ults the two farthest targets. So
Right.
whoever the two farthest people are on the enemy team, not relative to him, relative to each other. So let's say there's a, I'll show you for
Oh, I
example,
see. I
right?
see.
So let's say there's a Graves and a Kate. Let's say this is the enemy team's board. All right, actually,
Yeah.
let's remove this to make it simple, right? And like a Blitz. It's a really crappy
Yeah.
board, but you get the idea. He will ult Graves to Kate.
Graves into K. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoever's far
with the
doesn't matter
two
where he is.
farthest units, exactly.
Yeah.
So Victor's
So you can't
positioning.
position Victor.
Sorry.
They have to position.
Yeah,
So you
they
can't position.
exactly. And as a note, so let's say you're playing like Cybers, right?
Yeah.
This is how you can exploit this. Let's say you're playing Cybers. What you want to do is you want to ideally put Vayne and Echo on the same side, so that Echo
Yeah.
jumps to the back line, and the enemy Victor
Alt
ults the
Echo.
Echo and Kate, and
Yeah.
not Vayne, right? Because if you do this, he'll ult Echo and Vayne. If you do this, right, he'll ult Echo and to Kate, but it'll still hit Vayne some of the time, unless she tumbles out like a god. So that's
Yeah.
that. Another positioning thing.
One little note. Just for everyone, could you put in the Kate and Vayne again?
Sure.
Yeah, just a little note for people in chat. Like, this is not exactly a big brain strat, but if you put the Vayne one space away from Kate, no more. The helps of Victor lives is a lot. But tends to, like, if you want to like default, right? But your Echo, the reason I do this over what you said, because I believe you have a really good idea, but the one I tend to like to put Echo in the middle, to run him down the middle, because I don't think the Echo, unless he's maybe 2-star with some decent items, I think the Echo's purpose is just to press R. So I'd rather have him safely press R in the center. He tends to be safer in the center, rather than him jumping onto a Jin and the Jin turning around and clocking him. But of course, if I have frontline upgrades, then I'd probably be more confident in doing what you did, so knowing that the Echo won't get targeted.
Yeah,
Because Mhm.
yeah, I agree. I think this is your standard positioning. It's more if you know you're facing a Victor. So let's say those late
yeah,
game scenarios, right? If you know
yeah,
you're placing Victor, that's a good way to avoid the
it's a good
laser.
idea.
But
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
it's all situational, and I agree. Generally speaking, Echo you want to just have in the middle, especially
Yep,
if he's 1-star, so he could reliably get his ult off.
yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the mech positioning a little bit.
Oh no.
So the key thing with mech is you always want to have your mech pressuring the carry, right? And
Yep.
I think you're kind of on top of the positioning of the mech, but sort of late game you kind of defaulted to just having it in the middle. You generally
Yep.
want to avoid having them in the middle unless you really
Of
really
course.
don't know where someone's gonna be. But generally,
Yep.
but you know how to predict the next opponent out of like a
Of
33
course.
chance, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're using that trick, you can generally predict with a decent amount of confidence. I noticed when you were repositioning, this is the way you were repositioning. So let's say Rumble's in the middle. It doesn't matter who's where here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were doing this, right? Or sometimes you would just do this, and then the mech spawns like here, right? If you do
Yeah. It's
all of
easier to
this,
move. Yeah, it's easier to move Fizz and Nanny.
exactly. So if you want to,
The reason why I had to do the specific movement was because of Shroud. But I agree. I agree. It's much simpler to, for example, move only Annie or only Fizz to one side because it's one movement, much faster. Um, the only reason I had to do it was because of Shroud. But I
oh,
agree.
sorry.
You're right. It's much easier to move Annie and Fizz because that helps spawn it with one movement rather than a lot of Jagged movements. But
Sorry.
with Shroud, I just have to be more precise.
What do you mean about Shroud? You saying you want all of this so it's all the way
So
to the left, or what do you mean with
So, for
Shroud?
example, if you have the what's it called? So if you, I believe in both when you put the fizz, where at least this is what I saw at the time, just in that game. I'm not too sure, but for example, say if the fizz was placed either beside Annie or beside Rumble, I believe that he always spawns one hex away from Annie, which means that I can't get the second column shroud, if you know what I mean.
I think Shroud only spawns one time. The effect only activates one time. So it's not like
Sorry.
when.
Yes, I meant the So if you can, could you put a shroud on Rumble, and
Sure.
just pretend there's no other mechs? I just want to make sure I clarify for anyone who's watching. But if so typically with shrouds, what tends to be that you want the shroud to be in one away from the farthest end of the row, as in beside Annie or beside Fizz in this case. Usually, at least this is what usually because carries tend to be on that side, and shroud targets also tend to be on that side for frontline as well sometimes. But with the mech, at least from what I see, when you move Fizz in either of the two positions, like the fast snapping, like the one movement position, in both cases it will spawn two away. So it won't hit the corner units with the shroud, which is why I did the really, I had to do the really sloppy position, move two units positioning.
Got it.
But, we wouldn't have had this problem if I didn't slap shroud.
Oh no, it's fine. So I'm not. I have to go back and check. I'm not sure that if the mech spawns
I'm also
here or
not
here when you do
100%
this.
sure. I must
Yeah,
admit, yes. If
but
it was that like for example, if I was moving Fizz, it would spawn on top of the Fizz no matter what. Then absolutely, my yes, instantly snapping Fizz or instantly snapping Annie is the right choice.
yeah. So let's say even if it is the case that doing this puts the mech here and
Yep.
doing doing this, for example, that puts the mech here, which I'm not sure, and I have to
Mhm.
go check.
Yeah, I
It's
need to
still
check.
it's still a lot of movement, like
That's
to
true.
to do this and in a round.
That's true.
It's a lot
Mhm.
of movement. It's a lot of time that you're spending doing that, and it's very
Yep.
scoutable. It's easy to
Mhm.
scout. So if someone's watching
Yep.
your board, right? Let's say they know you're gonna
They're
face you.
gonna
It's just like
see
they're
two
gonna see
movements instead of last
exactly,
second.
exactly, and that's a
Yep.
pretty huge difference. So I think
Absolutely.
most times you just want to do the snap, but it's good that you know
Mhm.
how to do it, so we don't need to belabor
Yep.
the
But
point.
I need to, yeah, I'd like to test this very
Sure.
soon as well because this would make the difference. Absolutely. Because moving two, because you can't, when you move one, you can do it literally last frame. But when you move two, you're less confident. You start moving at like 0.5 seconds or even 1 second. And that's way too easy.
Yeah.
Moving at 1 second is way too easy for everyone. I agree.
And then a general note is so ideally again you always have your mech on one side or the other, not the middle. But if
Yep.
whatever side your mech is on, ideally your infiltrator is on the opposite side,
Infiltrators are. Yep.
right? So like you want your Shaco
Yep.
here or
Mhm.
you want your Annie here, just two movements, right? Super fast.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah. Uh, so in a lot of these fights late game, your mech is just middle,
Center.
right?
Yep.
Which means that you're not getting as much effectiveness out of them pressuring the back
Yeah.
line as
I
you could
think I
be.
was, yeah, I think at that point I was very tunneled on the Zephyr hits just because, I believe, I was starting to, like, I was checking, the boards were getting a bit stronger. I thought that Zephyr was I probably just didn't think about it. Again, me no mech. But yes,
It's
I
okay.
agree.
Yeah,
Yes. In an ideal world, yes, I should have, yeah, I don't, the vein. But I would have, yeah, moved the mech if I
yeah,
wasn't too busy with the Zephyr.
yeah. But
But
it's
you're
it,
right, you're right.
yeah. But I think overall, you like. I think your mech play was pretty clean. I think
Thank
you
you.
hear like your scouting and your positioning against the Zephyrs was really good. The
Mhm.
major thing is just late game. The positioning on mech is really the most important thing because one of the fights. So just to illustrate the point, and this is
Yeah.
not me calling you out. Trust me, I'm sure many
Of course, of
people
course.
people do this. Okay, so yeah, you see, you move Annie, and this is as far as right as the mech will move. So it's always superior to just
Yep.
snap. You see,
Yep.
right? So you just yeah, you'll get what you're looking for by just moving one unit there.
Hmm.
But if you look at this fight, like this is more just a. I think you know this, but this is just so people on the stream understand. You want to always have mech to the side because a lot of the time people will put these big CC
Clean.
units in the middle also. If your mech is
Hmm.
over here, he actually just runs straight to the back line and you auto win the fight,
Exactly.
you know?
Yep.
So yeah, mech, this is something I didn't even really know until, late into the set, like these little
Hmm.
nuances.
Hmm.
it becomes incredibly important. And holy shit, that is a really tanky Nico. I didn't even
Yeah,
realize
that was
double warlocks.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, no, the mech running down the side thing. Yeah, I learned that in set three. I watched the Jace walk into my team,
Mhm.
just down the side, just ran past my Gnar, just walked into my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, in positioning like this, yes, um, there's always the risk of that happening, and probably would have. Yeah, maybe if the mech spawned on the farthest tile, I think maybe he would have ran down the middle. But I think because he spawns one tile away from the farthest tile, maybe he wouldn't have hit it.
Yeah,
Maybe. Just
sometimes
maybe.
that happens. Usually,
Yep.
most times that's not too much of an issue. Like a
Yep.
melee
And
carry who's
I'm
strong enough
angry.
to just run at your back line. And if
Yep.
you're really concerned about that, what you can just do is put like Victor in the corner and put like the Mystics in front of him rather than right beside him, which will at
Mhm.
least create a little bit of a shield in between him and whoever is threatening him.
Mhm.
Um,
I don't believe there were any infiltrators at this point. I probably would have cornered. Probably would have
mhm,
cornered if I saw any infiltrators. But
mhm,
I believe I knocked the cyber players out
mhm,
a little bit. Cyber got knocked out a bit, so Echo was gone. But then again, you can't really dodge Echo. So.
mhm.
Also, the Lulu not being in, Lulu and Aesol not being in the two farthest corners, I would have hit his Jin if but yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know why people don't Zephyr bug more. It's a, it's just so good.
Yeah, it is super good. Here, though, the problem with Zephyr bugging is that actually you didn't have a replacement Mystic. So yeah,
Oh yes, yeah.
you got a better
Mhm.
Zephyr than you would have
Mhm.
otherwise. And in this particular fight, it just so happened he didn't have much magic damage, so it wasn't a big deal. But you generally
Right.
always want to have Mystic when you're running mech late
Yep.
game. So
Yep.
if you want a Zephyr bug like that, just try to make sure you have another Mystic.
Absolutely.
Doesn't even need to be another Lulu. It could be like,
Yep.
a Karma or even a
Mhm.
Bard, just someone who gives you the
Yeah,
synergy.
Bard, Cassio, anything. Yep.
Exactly.
That was a mistake. Yep.
Yeah.
Usually, if I'm trying not to make excuses, but if I knew the comp a little bit more comfortably, I probably would have picked up what's it called, the replacement units earlier. But I mean, I'm still thinking, but how does the mech spawn? Trying to Google it
Oh yeah, for sure.
while in game.
For sure.
So
Yep.
I was a little bit panicky.
Yeah, and this conversation is to help you get to that point. So, yeah, don't worry about that. So,
Yeah.
overall, I
I
thought
have
it
a
was.
replacement Shaco waiting for what's it called, for for Echo, for example. I mean,
Mhm.
I have Cassio on the bench as replacement, so I sort of got the hang of it.
Yeah, yeah, you understood the fundamentals for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, overall, just to recap, early
Oh, the
game,
tragedy! The tragedy!
yeah, this
I
fight.
couldn't. No.
Actually, I think even more impactful than the Zephyr because it's hard. I don't think you actually could have
Back.
Zephyr'd here because your ASOL was on the tile that the Janna was, and this had a QSS, and that had a
Oh, I
QSS.
would have Zephyr the what's it called? I would have Zephyr the Syndra.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though is, if we back up here,
Yeah.
let's see.
So it was.
If
I couldn't
it,
move the Echo.
yeah, if it, but
The
if
Echo
it
was
gives
supposed to back.
if it gives you peace of mind, what I'm saying is you literally could not have Zephyr'd her once you did this positioning. So that just happens. It happens.
Yeah.
The bigger thing again is positioning your mech to the side.
Back.
Right?
Absolutely.
Mech to the side actually wins this fight because you're
Yeah.
really, really strong at this point, and it's a shame that the Nico is just perma stunning your mech.
Yeah.
Super tilting to watch as someone who has this happen to him all the time when he's playing versus Nico. So, but yeah, overall, I thought you played pretty solid. I think just to recap, I personally don't think slamming Shroud is worth. Not
Mhm.
after the nerfs, and I think slamming a Hodge is going to be much more
Can't go
effective.
wrong. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's also a really flexible item that can fit into a bunch of
Yep.
comps.
Mhm.
Slamming the QSS is just 100% of the time you want to make sure that you do that, and it takes a burden of
Sure.
scouting for like trying to position your mech around that because even if you outplay someone Zephyr, it's at the cost of your mech having optimal positioning, right? So QSS
Yeah,
is
or
just
for
really
example,
important.
GP.
Exactly.
It could hit a GP, for example.
Exactly, right? And then at that stage 3 carousel when you were win streaking, I think it was at 3-5. After that carousel,
Yep.
you always want to level there.
Should have leveled. Yep.
Exactly.
And then I panic leveled right before Raptors.
Did you?
If you,
I don't
sorry, I
think you
panic
did.
rolled. I believe yes. Sorry, yeah. I was on a 5 lose streak. And right before Raptors, I rolled. I remember something along those lines.
Hmm.
And that was, very interesting. I should have taken.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
oh,
50
oh!
HP.
Before stage
I
five.
should
Yeah,
have
yeah,
taken
yeah,
10.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah. So yep, that's just just reading like how much HP can you lose and still take a first, and then
Yep.
obviously this guy's at 50 HP. It's probably unlikely that you take a first, but there's just difference between a third and a
I
second
would have won.
here is all
I would have won.
positioning. Is all positioning.
No, I wouldn't have won. But I would have shrouded. I would have hit his Syndra, which would make my heart feel a little better, knowing that there was nothing I could do. But now I will never know.
I actually think you just straight up win. If your mech runs past the
Also
Nico.
my
Yeah,
mech
yeah.
was my mech was kind of in the middle. I
Exactly.
don't think I touched a mech unit, like the moment I started Zephyring.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
um, definitely not used to mech positioning. I mean the Gnar is just like click one. So when I have a shroud on my Gnar, then I tend to move my Gnar around. But sometimes I don't even move the Gnar. I'm too busy trying to Zephyr blitz someone.
Yeah, and counter
But
Zephyr and stuff like that. So.
yeah,
But yeah, overall, well played. Congrats on the third.
thank you very
And
much.
thank you so much for letting me review this.
No worries, no worries.
Any final questions before we sign off here?
Nope. I'm good. Because you have played in much higher level lobbies than I have. Probably, I mean, the best lobbies I got into was when I first started streaking into Diamond and starting getting like 6 out of 8, 7 out of 8 Masters players in my lobbies. But um, what do you think about the general fact that lobbies tend to get more aggressive the higher rank you go up? Do you think it's because people are better at early game decision making, as in board strength, or do you think it's just the idea of playing to your lobby, right? Like if you see one guy panic level, then suddenly 2 other guys are leveling, and then everyone levels.
I think generally what happens is people are just playing more. There's more pressure in higher level lobbies just because people understand at a much deeper level what's the strongest board is, what the strongest positioning is. It's less so about like the leveling timings are different. It's more that, and I guess it's kind of a weird way to say it. The leveling timings are just more correct given the context, right? So rather than like saying, oh, it's always the case that higher elo people roll more at this point than in lower elo lobbies. It's more the case that like players will have a much better understanding of given their board and the relative strength of other boards whether they should roll or level. And they'll act accordingly, which puts more pressure on everyone else because everyone is sort of playing optimally, or more
Yep.
close to optimal. So it's less that there's different metas; it's more that people are just legitimately making higher quality decision.
Yep.
So,
I think, yeah, for example, this game I had, and at least in the, shall we say, economy department, my 3 mistakes were, of course, the first mistake being, well, no, I thought, sorry, the good, like one of the good decision was turning that lost streak into a win streak. At least I think when I got the rumble going. Also, of course, aggressively leveling to 6 after I found the fizz, but then the not leveling to 7 right after carousel was a big mistake for me. Absolutely a big mistake. I believe I waited till after wolves to level, so that was a big mistake for me. I think the second biggest mistake was while I was on a 5 or 6 loss streak right before Raptors. I tried to power up my board for absolutely no reason because I was 50 HP. I could tank a 15 HP hit and I'd still be fine.
there you go,
And
man.
then,
You got it.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, look, you clearly understand the game enough to
Also,
be able
also, yeah,
to.
I had an Acel and a Nico. I could have so easily hit Acel 2. I could have confidently hit Acel 2 and not hodged a Victor, for example.
Yeah,
But
but
yes, I panic slammed a tier because I thought I was gonna lose the fight. But I realized, hodge Victor, 50% of the time, he heals for nothing because no one touches him because all the infiltrators are dead. That was a little interesting.
yeah,
Maybe if I had Red Hodge on this fight, maybe. That's all I'm saying. What must it be the difference? It could have been the difference.
yeah. So good man. It's good that you can sort of self-analyze. I think if you just keep applying
Mm,
that analysis, you're sure to keep climbing. And
mm.
yeah, thanks again for letting me review.
Yep. Take care, man.
All right, man. Have an awesome night.
Yep. You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.